I mean, with your experience with Bitcoin and what's happening in the crypto field, how much would you say that the international sort of conflicts, are connected with, revolutions happening in the finance sector and the banking sector, things like that? Do you feel that there's some connection, overlap, with all of these events?
Yeah, for sure. And there's also an overlap with Islam, I think, a bit. Um, the money is broken in the world now. The money is a scam. It's fake. Um, and I don't have the authority to say that it is an Islamic violation, but I know some people who do have, like my friend Muahe. He's a scholar. He studied at Medina, and he believes that fiat money, our dollars, are riba. I mean, it's a scam. It's all based on debt and phony debt, and people who are interested. He's 10,000 times better than me to listen to. He's on Twitter, and there's a small number of there's only a couple scholars that I know, but a lot of Muslims, a lot of other, people, just interested people who are Muslims who are interested in this concept, talking about how, the money is broken, and forget about, whether it should be forbidden or not. That I'll leave that to knowledgeable people like you to decide. But clearly we know right and wrong, we know good and evil, and we know that this system of money that we have now is broken, and it funds a lot of evil. We have fake money now that politicians can print from thin air. Neil Kashkari from the Fed, former Fed, he said all you do is press a button and it's unlimited. Well, that's not real money, and that doesn't go in line with what money has ever been. It wasn't that way in the time of the Prophet. It wasn't that way now. It shouldn't be that way now. Gold and silver, sound money, is limited in supply, and you can't just create it from thin air. The money we have now, they can just print a button and give it to BlackRock or give it to, Boeing or Lockheed, and they're probably going to give some to Israel soon. They gave a bunch to Ukraine. And that's what funds the war. Because if they had to come to you and say, hey, we need, Dr. Ali, I need 30 grand. You're going to say, why? You say, oh, because I want to bomb somebody over here. You say, no, thank you. I'm not going to give you my 30 grand. Well, they're taking 30 grand, 30 grand, 30 grand every year, from every American to do all of these bombs and everything all over the world. So, foreign policy and the disasters in America are very closely tied to the money. The money is broken. The money's broken, and it automatically becomes corrupt if you can print it from thin air. If you talk to a 6-year-old, printing money from thin air is the kind of power that a 6-year-old would want. It's a child, like, oh, I wish I could print money from thin air. I wish I had my own money printing press. It's like a childlike fantasy. But unfortunately, it is the reality of adults in this world, powerful adults who really can print money from thin air. They do quantitative easing, QE 1, 2, 3, 4, all of this kind of thing. They print billions of dollars from thin air. And where does it go? It goes to wars and violence and a for-profit prison system.
Yeah,
and all
it
of
also damages the buying power also of the dollars. Everything goes up, right? I think that's an important part for a lot of people to understand is that the more money they print, the less we can buy with that money that we actually have available to us. Right?
It's robbing you. If you and I play the Monopoly game,
yeah,
and I have a magic marker and I can draw zeros on my money and you can't, I'm going to win. And that's not hurting you, devaluing your currency because I'm making mine more. So it's a cronyism game. It's very corrupt and broken. And there's a great book, actually, and it's by a Muslim, actually, Safety Amos. He wrote a couple books, the Bitcoin Standard and the Fiat Standard.
Right.
And I forget the name of his newest book. The Fiat Standard is funny because it talks about exactly these concepts. And he mentions that when everything has this phony money, you end up with less accountability and bad decisions and these kind of things. So one of my favorite examples in there is food. In the US, we literally, people are fat because of fiat system, because you have this phony money printing it out of thin air, and these Midwest states that produce a lot of corn, who have a lot of electoral votes, they shower them with fake money and they give them corn subsidies. So now we have corn syrup in ketchup and every other product in America because of broken money. And it's the same as like you see in San Francisco with these artist grants, and just The stupider things government does with money, it becomes from the fiat system. If they had to come to you and take your money, they wouldn't be able to do these stupid things because the people wouldn't support it. But when they can kind of silently, secretly tax you by just printing more money for themselves, and it devalues your currency. So it's all tied together.